So, I thought my maze was finished, but apparently it's too difficult. So, I've got to do some changes here. So I'm just going to remove the plexi and talk you through how I made it, really. Now, I started with a ball bearing. It's the only one I had. I found it when I was clearing the shed out. And I thought, oh, you know, I'll make a marble maze for it. So I designed a single sheet marble maze and thought, that's a bit boring. Let's make it a little more difficult. So I then made 2 sheets of marble maze with a connecting section. And then transfer that onto a thick bit of ply. Not quite thick enough for the ball bearing, so I had to use an extra layer of 4mm ply just to raise it up slightly. So the cutting itself wasn't too difficult, although it was the first bit of scroll sawing I've done in a good number of months, so I was rather rusty and any straight angles didn't come out straight at all, but that's kind of part of the course. So yeah, the initial cutting wasn't too difficult, although it was slightly more tedious and boring than it normally is. It's just all straight lines and edges. For the drops, the what they're called, oubliettes, I think is the correct term. I don't actually have a drill bit big enough for the ball bearing I've got, so instead I had to kind of Frankenstein cut a piece of ply with various holes, making sure to line them up, or at least cut between them underneath where the walls go, which is easy enough, and then I covered it, so probably didn't need to be that particular about it. So the important bit in the construction here is making the kind of the dungeon, the oubliette in the middle. That's another 2 layers of ply plus a thin layer of ply to again make it big enough for the ball bearing to come out. One issue I've got, and I've tried to fix but failed, is that some of my holes from side A directly correlate with holes inside B, so that you can actually drop through one onto the other, which is not ideal. I had actually had this pretty much finished by then, just without the plexi. I'd covered the sides in PVC to give it a kind of softer edge, and then I realised that I needed to open it up again and do something about this kind of connection. So I had to rip all the PVC off, crack it open and put something in. So I ended up putting in a little bit of black paper, but the paper I had, the sugar paper I had, was I store it rolled up, so it continued to roll up inside, which caused a whole manner of issues with trying to get the ball out. So yeah, I've since yanked all that out, and I've still got this kind of correlation between the holes I've got to sort out. So I'm not quite sure what I'm doing with that, but something will come to mind, one hopes. So yeah, there wasn't much in the way of difficulty in making this. It's a fairly straightforward piece. And although I have yet to make it all the way round the path without dropping through the holes, it is a workable maze, albeit slightly frustratingly. I think I overdid it with the holes. I think I got a little bit too carried away with making this hard, because a fair number of these holes, there's no way to avoid them really. So yeah, so at its very basic level, this is just a lot of not very square cuts on the scroll saw, and then some craziness with circles using a spiral blade that was fighting me all the way through. So after putting my paper in, my makeshift baffle, I suppose, I then recovered in matte paper, matte pages. I actually like that look, that the idea that you're travelling from one place to another across a map, and that seems to fit with the feel of this. So why I ended up putting PVC on in the first place, I don't know, but I have since replaced that with more matte pages. So yeah, it's a project I actually enjoyed it, despite all the frustrations and mistakes I made. I've actually enjoyed making this, and I have plans for more, but at this point I've only got one 1/2 inch ball bearing to play with, so I've got to order some more and make some more boxes. This is quite a heavy piece, and as you've got to lift it and move it around, it goes beyond being sturdy. It's too chunky, I think. If you're trying to do delicate movements, it's difficult with quite such a chunky lump of wood, essentially. Even though most of it's air, it's still really quite heavy. So and some people can't read the path really. So what I'm doing is reopening this and getting rid of all the dust that seems to have accumulated on the inside, and I'm actually drawing in the path with a marker pen so that you know where you're supposed to be going. Yeah, I did that right anyway. Yeah. So at least you've got a line you know you're supposed to be going for. When it came to the drilling through for the plexi, that was a pain in the backside. One, I don't have a vice or anything like that I could use to hold it essentially in place, and two, my drill bit bent. So it made it all very frustrating. I ended up having to get my mum in, who didn't want to be on camera, so hopefully I haven't got a face, to hold it down for me whilst I did the drilling. And my little hand drill kept slipping out or losing its grip on the bit, which made everything a little bit more frustrating. So yeah, kind of a two-person drill job. That's kind of the nature of this kind of project. I don't have a sturdy vice. The only one I've got is a little kind of engineer's style jewellery maker's vice, which is great for small things but not so much for anything else. And the pen dies right at the end. So yeah, that did cause some language and some frustrations, but I think first project back after a long period of just sewing, not doing actually any woodwork or anything, not bad. Doesn't look exactly as neat as I would like, But I do like the idea of having these holes, the paper just kind of exploding out, exploding down. So it can, if you're very lucky, it can catch the ball bearing and you can flick it back in again. And it has that feeling of sinking into the underground, which with the map pages being most of London, I think that kind of works as a theme, as an idea. So I've got a wee bit of plexi left, because I had two pieces that were roughly A4 in size, so those are earmarked for the next marble project I can do. When I've got some more ball bearings to get ordered. It should be fairly soon, but I'm not intending to do it quite yet because I need to work out some technicalities. Because what I want is to make kind of a cube where you're moving around all 6 sides. So for that I actually do need to do quite a bit of drawing and probably modelling, just so that I can work out where everything goes and the right way to fit things together. So watch out for that as a future project. Probably, maybe not this year. I'll get the planning done. I might do a couple of prototypes, but I won't actually do the final one until later on. So yeah, this is my prototype. As I said, it's fairly chunky, but it certainly does the job. And now I've pulled out my paper baffle, you can see, if you can through there, you can see daylight through some of the holes, which isn't ideal because, as I said, it is quite likely that the ball bearing drops all the way through and onto the other side. So I've got to think about something to stop that. I think maybe if I put in a little bit of foam sheet or something like that, that might help. But without actually undoing this all and ripping it apart again, I've got to try and get it in through my little dungeon hole here, and I suspect in doing that I'm going to twist it too much, and then it's going to start twisting on the inside, which is going to cause the same problem as the paper. So that's something to think about. And to simplify this, because I've had complaints, I have removed half of this cover here that was covering this blind bit, the underground path, just so that people can see where they're going essentially and be introduced to the undergroundness without losing themselves. So that's not ideal. I wanted that bit a little bit more difficult, but never mind, it's a prototype. It's quite a difficult maze anyway. I haven't been able to get all the way around it yet, but that's half the fun is in trying to defeat the maze. So yeah, as I said, I've got these couple of bits of plexi left over, and I'm undecided whether I want to do a maze of 4 sides or actually buy some more and do a proper 6-sided maze. So that's a decision to be made. I don't want to buy plexi just for that, so if I can get away with using these, that's hopefully going to be better. And I've drawn out a couple of plans and ideas for where the maze goes, but this is way too complicated and too small because the ball bearings I've got are 7mm, so I need to work up maybe a centimetre grid for that and see how that works. So yeah, modelling is required for this before I move on to any actually construction part. So I'm calling this one finished for now, even with its problems, but then prototypes always do. So yeah, this is a nice frustrating one to work with, to play with as you go through. So yeah, this is the first project back on the scroll saw since I cleared out, since I think, when was the last project? Probably March, I think, was the last scroll saw project. So definitely rusty. But I've got more to come, so I'll see you again next week for my next project.